New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Hello and welcome back to Global Focus. Today I am Reverend Dr. Sharri Johnson, your host, and our guest today is just, well, you know, I only have fabulous guests, but this one tops the cake. This is Reverend Christina Jones, who is a religious science CSL minister. She's the founder and creator of DivineFeminineEvolution.org. Now, I just absolutely love that name. She is it's a CSL affiliated focus ministry, which is how she ended up here. But she is also the new spiritual director of the Althea Center, which is the first divine science church in Denver, Colorado. And this church is where Ernest Holmes went to school. It's where Myrtle and Charles Fillmore, I don't care, she came first. They can give him credit later, went to school. It is just a fabulous opportunity. And she's a development coach. She's an inspirational speaker. She's a dietitian and a teacher and an author. She's been active. This is the thing I'm most jealous of. She's been active in New Thought, New Age since she was a child. To grow up in this consciousness, this spiritual environment just creates envy in me. 7 generations of powerful ancestors in her lineage have passed on metaphysical and spiritual principles from family traditions. 7 generations. That's downright biblical. She is also a healing emissary of light and love for herself and for the world. Please help me welcome Reverend Christina Jones. Thank you so much for agreeing to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. It's a joy. It's a joy to see you again, Reverend Sharri. I love your light. Your light and your enthusiasm. It motivates me.
Well, you know, I do get a little excited sometimes. I'm just going to, here's how this works. I'm going to ask you a question. You talk till you're done talking, then I'll ask you another question.
Okay.
And when you run out of stuff to say, I'll ask you another question. So here's the first one. Where did divine feminine evolution come from, and what does it mean, and what does it do, and what is it all about?
So in ministerial school, I felt and knew it was a focus ministry, even though I know it was focus and what they call pulpit ministry. However, I kept getting divine feminine. Even we did a visioning, which I invite everyone to do visioning, which Michael Beckwith coined many, many years ago for anything, career or anything. However, I kept getting divine feminine. And then my husband, my beautiful husband, I'm grateful for, he gets a download some days quicker than I do, because I kept getting, I'm missing a third world. I knew it was about the divine feminine rising. I kept seeing this woman of all races just rising up. And I'm actually doing artwork based on that right now as we're building the website. And what dropped in with my husband was evolution. There were 2 other names, which I'm keeping to myself because they're going to be named as workshops right now. But that's where it came from. And then I got the bottom part is the evolution is now. So building that, we're going to have workshops. A lot of things will be on Zoom and almost complete with the website right now.
Oh, I'm so excited to hear about that. Evolution is one of my favorite things. It's right up there with quantum physics. I just love both of those concepts, and it tickles me that people think evolution is something that happened a long time ago.
Yeah, the whole
Like it could be finished. So I was so excited when I saw that name. I just went, oh, goody, 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 goody.
Well, we're always evolving.
We are.
You don't stop evolving. There's different levels of consciousness.
Yep. Yep.
And the whole, like, some women have asked me, is it just a woman's ministry? It's more than as celebrating the divine feminine in all sentient beings. Because there was the women's movement. There's so many movements that have happened, but there's a shift of consciousness that's been happening, I think, for the past 60, 70 years. When you go back into the women's movement, it would stop, it would rev up, stop. The 70s, like the what I was told, the burning of the bras and everything, it would stop and start. But I know, sure, you probably seen it when the Me Too movement came up. That was the big one. And I worked in corporate America. I've modeled and acted. I've seen it. I took a break from it because of the sexual harassment. Even today, women still making less than men. But also there's a wonderful men that wish to support the women in their family. If let's think about Robert, who created New Thought Media Network. You're on his network. So there are a whole group of men. My husband supports me. There's a whole group of men that are tapping into that creative side to support women.
I love that men are being involved in the divine feminine. That because to me that is a signal that conscious evolution is happening. That not only are bodies and trees and rocks evolving, but so is consciousness.
Yes.
And it's expanding and it's growing. And what I love about it is that, and especially in the concept of divine feminine evolution, is that it's about how we're alike. Yes. It's not about how we're different. It's about what there is that makes us all unique and at the same time one. Yeah. So I am tickled pink to hear about that. We want to know about those workshops when they're coming up too. Can you give us any hints what the workshops are about?
So one workshop is going to be called Ladies' Night. And it is, and I say back in my day, there was Ladies' Night was on Thursday night. So one of these workshops might be in person, and then I'm going to develop it to make it online. But Ladies' Night is about, it is the divine feminine looking for love in this whole tech world and being grounded in the oneness, not coming from fear. For me, I know some women, they're like, I got to find a mate. I got to find a mate. And then they get a mate. I always say you could find a man or a mate, but it may not be the mate or the man. The law will give you what you want, but you have to be grounded in who you are. And I use my own relationship with my husband. My first marriage, which I'm writing a book about, literally almost left the planet. He was going to kill me. But it wasn't until during that time of planning secretly a divorce to save my own life is when I got grounded and rooted in me. And that's what this whole Ladies' Night is about, using spiritual principle to get grounded in yourself. If you don't love yourself, you're not going to find any love. It's just not happening. You got to get grounded in you and not come from this place of need, want, have to have. That whole push-pull, universe doesn't play that. Just saying.
That's wonderful. That ties in so perfectly with my current hobby horse, which is self-care.
Yes.
Because when you're searching from a place of lack, what you find is more lack.
Yes.
But when you're searching from a place of completeness and wholeness and oneness, then what you find is even greater completeness and wholeness and oneness. So I'm looking for that. Now, what I want to know is, that sounds to me like a full-time job, and yet you are spiritual director of not a teeny tiny little church. I mean, Althea Center is more than just a little blip on the map. So tell us about, how did that happen, and how do you manage to juggle both things at the same time?
Well, it actually is working out pretty easy because I don't have to go in the building so much. Thank God for technology. The Althea Center. Back in November, I'm going to go way back to November. Spirit told me in meditation, this is how come we meditate, to start speaking at more centers to get myself out there. I did not know they had a position open. I spoke February 12th, walked through the door, well, actually touched the door and felt an energy, walked through the door, up the stairs, and a voice said, "You're home," and smelled my mother, who was a metaphysician. And I started crying. I'm like, I gotta get myself together. Like, where's the room? Who do I talk to? And everything. And I'm shaking. And it's the first time I'm meeting some of the people there. And I'm like, it was like I stepped back into time. I grew up in New Orleans, so it's a beautiful old building and a museum. Now I've heard of divine science because Ernest Holmes was ordained as a divine science minister. I know that's Emma. That's Emma Curtis Hopkins and Nona Brooks. I knew that was Nona's house and Alethea's house and Melinda Kramer's house. I knew whose house it was, but it was like, why do I feel like I stepped into Egypt, Peru, or something? It was just this energy. I stepped back into New Orleans that was flowing through. And I knew what I was speaking on. Everything channeled through me. And then they were saying, you should put your hat in the ring, or we really want you to interview here. So that's how, what's the whole phrase that we make plans?
And God laughs.
Yeah, God laughs. Yeah. And Spirit said you can do both. Because my focus ministry, as it's unfolding, it takes time to build. Reverend Sharri, you know it. When you start focus ministry, it is you. Paperwork, building. And now it's like working together because divine science is the mother of religious science. And as I read, I have their books, and there's a library. There's the first Divine Science Church. If memory serves, 1988. The building is in the historic registry. The building's over 100 years old. The people there that have volunteer gifted, they made it through COVID. They made it through interesting other spiritual directors and leaders, whatever you want to call that. They made it and thrived, and it's over 100 years old, and the whole thing is an energy field. And the women that built it, think about it, divine science, and then before that was divine feminine evolution. So I got that in summer of last year. So yeah, summer of last year that I knew divine feminine evolution, that was it. And then divine feminine shows up February. And then I was speaking there and went through it. And all I did is just hold that space. I said, well, God, you want me to do it. Now, I'm not going to lie. I was scared. I was going, and I still go, what the heck? Because I coach, because we all got to pay bills, people. As ministers, we know that. I speak, because I've always done speaking for over 20 years from a corporate perspective, bringing my whole self to that. So I was like, I can do it. And then one day I decided to look at Kevin Hart and Oprah. Hey, they do it. And some people say, but they got assistants. I'm like, they didn't always have assistants. Because time really is an illusion. I realized space has opened up for me to do it. And it's flowing. Everything's flowing. So that's, again, not pushing against it. And it's home. The Althea Center is beautiful inside and out. And we stream on YouTube and on Facebook. I invite anyone, go to YouTube, see it. They have other talks. We have other events. This Sunday we're doing Day of the Dead, so it won't be my talking head there. We're doing something with Danny Stage, who has done it before. It's going to be an amazing event. So we're not always doing, I'll say, traditional Sundays. We're open at the top, as Ernest said.
Very much. Now, I'm going to step aside from asking you questions because part of my focus ministry is something called the Spirit Online Directory. And that's where I have links for any new thought organization that offers spiritual practice online by Zoom. So all you need to send me your times and your links so I can put you on the website.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
Question. I ask everybody, I can't ask you this because you already told me, but how did you get into New Thought? You were born into New Thought. Do you have any idea how amazingly blessed that is to be born into New Thought? Did you ever question that was your path? Did you ever wonder? Did you ever think you wanted to go explore something else? Or were you always at home in New Thought?
Oh, I did question. I've had dark night of the soul. God and I have had, well, not God and I, me and God have had fights, arguments. God just listened. God just held the space. I didn't know it was called New Thought. So being born and raised in New Orleans, see, I didn't hear the words New Thought till I came to Colorado. So my time, it was called New Age. It was a New Age movement. All right. So New Orleans, I went to a Unity church, a Catholic church, and my dad was Methodist. But all of our friends were into Edgar Casey, Ruth Montgomery, John, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, any psychic you can think of that was very mystical, and the Bhagavad Gita my mom read from, and including the Bible. So I come from a family that didn't want to talk about intuition, but it was right there. Even some families members now, they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about it. And New Orleans is different than the rest of the United States. We have that old Marie Laveau and that old energy. There's stories of my grandmother doing healings. And the reason why it's 7 generations is because the stories, like some of my grandparents died over 100. So they told me other things. And there's other, and so when you start counting, one day me and my mom, my aunt, it's way back. And it's probably way back before that. And I think it's a lot like that for a lot of people, except families keep secrets, as we know, because traditional Christian kind of kept the peace. And as a Black woman down south, people, I mean, when I moved to the East Coast, I was called a witch by someone because I had crystals on. I didn't have a crucifix on, even though I had rosaries in my house. It was a different, and I still have rosaries, a different meaning for me. I love Our Lady Guadalupe, the Mary, the Black Madonna. I love all that. So my mom always had spiritual experiences, but it wasn't until she was pregnant with me. And they told her she would never get pregnant. I'm pretty sure a lot of women have heard that. Never have kids, never, never, ever. All this energy came flooding in. And my dad he was in the military, but he met people that were Rosicrucian. So I don't think he even told my grandmother. So if one of my family members here, this first time they're hearing it, we have books. I have old texts. I have old books that are out of print that my mom talked out of. So, and she used to hide books from me because I was that kid. And she's like, "You're gonna freak your kids." So she realized every time I read something, I would have these dreams. I'm like, "Oh, what was that?" So it was welcomed. Even though I went to Catholic school, I got kicked out of catechism. I was an altar girl, and I got in trouble with the priest because I'm like, the Bible says this, but you're saying this, and I'm confused. So it was normal and welcomed. And in my teenage years, me and my mom were homeless, everything teenagers go through stuff. That's when I took a break from even praying. I was angry. I was mad. I'm like, how can this happen when these two people are crazy? Dad with alcohol problems, mom emotional issues, you name it. And then having family members knowing that I was homeless, they didn't care. So I was angry. There was a, as my mom called me, ISIS firepower. I was angry. And she just waited. We still had the books because I have them now, and moved in with my aunt, and my mom started to teach again. And she just would leave a book out. I'm like, oh, I guess I am. So yeah, I stayed with it. And even living in Maryland for me was hard because it's a different cultural background. Like it was hard for me to find a unity church. And when I asked people, oh, that's those crazy people. So I didn't know about religious science. I didn't know what it was until I got to Colorado and had a spiritual experience. Called my mom, who had a psychic that lived in Boulder that came from the Edgar Casey Foundation, and said, "Go to Mile High Church, it'll change your life. Oh, by the way, you're going to be a minister." I'm like, "No, I'm not." But I was called to ministry as a little kid because my dad did say, "You're going to be a minister or a Supreme Court judge." He always said it. Because I used to watch like Billy Graham and all this stuff. I was always seeking, and I realized I was seeking truth. And Reverend Sharri, the growth really starts when you become a minister.
Well, yeah, it's like I used to tell them. I taught college for 35 years before I became a minister. And what I told my students then is absolutely the same story for ministerial students. And that is graduation is not the end.
No.
It's the beginning. It's and somebody said at the Emerson commencement last couple of weeks ago, said that instead of calling it graduation, he wanted to call it commencement, because commencement means the beginning.
Yes.
And I just love that, because we're never done.
No.
We're never going to be done.
No.
And it's important that people, what I'm hearing you say is that even when you were struggling and seeking, you were supported in the seeking by your family.
Yes.
That is just, I mean, in my dark night of the soul seeking 7 years, I didn't have anybody but my 2 little kids and me trying to figure out what was going on and who he had God, So I just so celebrate the blessing that you had in that upbringing of spirit being all around you and in you every moment of your life. That's just amazing. So how do you pass that on?
By doing what I do. I wake up in the morning, say thank you, because there have been times I've almost left this planet. And I say, God, I got it from Wayne Dyer, because Wayne Dyer said before his feet touched the floor, how do I serve? And then I changed it a little bit. I heard Wayne Dyer actually say that at Mile High Church many years ago. And I changed it. I'm like, wait a minute. I've been serving my whole life, and I have. I started working at 14. I went to private school, had a scholarship, had to drop out, whole other thing, sent myself through colleges and different degrees and everything. And I was like, I've been serving a lot of people. I am an overgiver. I have done it, wear myself down. So I started, my new thing is, how do I serve myself so I can serve others today? That goes back to your self-care.
Self-care.
Yeah, because you can't. Because I come from a group, my mom was an overgiver. Sacrificed everything. Stopped going to college. Stopped writing in a newspaper to appease everyone else. I'm like, that was my lesson. I am not doing that. No, ma'am. No, sir. I am not doing that. So now it feels better for the past, maybe over 10 years, I say. How do I serve myself so I may serve others?
Good. Self-care, like I said, that's my hobby horse. If you can't pour anything out of an empty pitcher. If you don't fill that pitcher up every day, then it's going to get dry.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. So what is this is 2 questions, so I'll ask them one at a time. What is your biggest challenge in ministry? And you can talk about focus ministry, pulpit ministry, the whole thing together, whichever.
Biggest challenge. I will say having other people slow down. I realize, and other people, not me.
Oh, I hear you.
It's like,
choir, sister.
Yeah, slow down. Because, when you're doing this, when you're doing that, we need this done. All the paperwork, and I know that's part of administration. I worked in corporate America over 20 years. My challenge in ministry, what I see I will say, focus, CSL, all the above. Then there needs to be an organization. Now, this is just me, that there needs to be a path, because there's a consciousness on this planet, And I know where it comes from, where they always, like, I'm talking like, let's go back to the 1700s, 1800s, when you had the minister was the farmer, and people ran to the minister and the minister's wife because so and so was dying, so and so needs here, so they were always available. That's the thing that I'm noticing, that there's a consciousness in our country that seems to think you need to be available to me 24/7. That's it. So my thing is with boundaries. And I tell people, even with Divine Feminine, some people's like, well, can you talk at 9 o'clock at night? No, not on a Sunday. No, nope, nope, nope. Here are my hours. Here is what I have available. And that's the challenge. And I see it too in pulpit ministry, when I've had to tell people before I'm, Reverend Sharri, you know this, getting on stage or getting ready. We prepare a talk, but most of it's channeled. A lot of people don't get that. They don't get that. It's like, you think you don't get that. It is 6 to 8 hours. Yeah, it's maybe 20 minutes. But there's a whole process of you being a Sunday morning. I get stuff. Reverend Sharri, you know that. We get stuff all the time. Like, okay, that went out the window. I was going to say that's gone. And there's an energy. There's an exchange of energy. And I think our society don't even understand that with Catholic priests. I used to see the Catholic priests get ready, and they had their frankincense stuff, and they would be exhausted. I get in ministerial school when Dr. Roger Teal told us, and the other ministers told us, why they take off on Monday, and people want you to pick up a phone at 9 o'clock. Like, no, 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 no. I'm tired. So they don't understand, because most people don't understand ministry. And it's not to make it wrong. That's the challenge. And I think that's what the good news about Zoom and all the technology, I think people are starting to understand that this is not a hobby. It's a real calling. We're not doing this for a Rolex at the end of a job, because a lot of people, when they leave work, they're home. We're ministers 24/7.
Yep.
All the time.
I remember the joke from the previous century, and way back in the previous century, of somebody asked little Johnny what he wanted to be when he grew up. It was a career day, and Susie wanted to be a nurse, and Billy wanted to be a doctor, and so wanted to be a fireman, and they'll go down the line, and they get to little Johnny, and he says he wants to be a preacher. And the teacher goes, wow, gosh, that's wonderful. You really feel called by God to be a preacher? And the little boy says, no, I just only want to work 1 day a week. And, I'm sure there must be somebody on this planet who's a minister who only works 1 day a week, but I don't think I've ever met him.
Or I haven't met that person.
So because as you point out, people think of ministers as on call 24/7, 365, and get really testy with you if you tell them that's not the case.
Well, yeah, they really don't. And even though I would say, going through homes for ministerial school, and my regional chapter was Mile High Church in Lakewood, when they told us the people aren't going to get it, I heard it. I really heard it. I know, but until it's like, no. So it's been like, even with the Divine Feminine Evolution, it's so great. I got practitioners call me, well, when can we do this? And when can we do that? Wait, because I do have a coaching business that has to pay the bills. It's me. Someone's like, when's your website coming? I say, I'm working on it a little bit at a time, because it's me. I don't have the money right now. Like, someone wanted to do my website, they're going to charge me $6,000. Nope, got to do it myself. Now, if someone wants to donate $6,000, I accept it to do the website, or donate the time. I accept that. That's what, and the misnomer, because that's the whole thing too. People see Joel Osteen, Joyce Meyer, T.D. Jakes, Michael Beckwith. Oh, you must be rich. I have had someone think that now, since I'm at Althea, you must make over $150,000 a year. I'm like, where is it? Because I sure accept it. No. Stop. People make up stories that they think every minister is like. There are so many ministers struggling. And I tell people this is why you tithe. You want that spiritual support. It is to the building, it's to the website design, it's to your comfort. It's so Robert can have Dr. Robert, New Thought Media Network. So Sharri could be here. It's like this whole assumption that ministers are rich. We have bills like everyone else. We have things that when the fuel goes up with everyone else, goes up with me too.
I have a friend, retired Unity minister named Jim Rosemurgy. I met him when I went to graduate school back in 1982, and he had a little tiny church in Raleigh, North Carolina. And he wrote a whole lot of really wonderful books, but one of my favorites is called Even Mystics Have Bills to Pay.
Amen. I got to get that book.
Mystics. and people don't, they go, really? People see that title and they go, really? And I hear where you're coming from, but I also remember my grandma telling me when I was a little bitty kid, that there's a blessing in every lesson. So what I'm asking the next question is, what's the blessing in that particular lesson?
The blessing is I know I'll be provided for. Being homeless and having family members that knew about it and did nothing to support, there were blessings, law of attraction stuff. When I go back, it's like every time things were provided for. And still now, I went out December 31st. We live in the mountains, and I said, okay. And I said, Jesus, okay, Jesus. You say I got divine feminine evolution? Show me what it looks like. Show me where you want me to be. Show me. Every place I called to speak at a church, it came in. Other speaking gigs. So that's the blessing. The blessing is in the lesson. So I know as I walked away from a 6-figure job in corporate America, the money shows up. It's working towards it. As long as I stay the course and trust, because God does make money. Money does grow on trees, y'all. I'm gonna tell y'all. There's a paper, there's like a silk fabric there's wood and silk fabric in our money. And it does say, in God we trust. Even if everything turns to Bitcoin or digital, whatever, there is something backing it. Even though the gold doesn't back our dollar anymore, that stopped in 1975, there's still a frequency of that. It's still there. Currency, which we will be doing. I am starting an affirmative prayer class at Althea Center. And come March, I got a money class that's starting. So it's about recognizing that I've seen spirit provide. So the blessing of going from, I say, kind of a middle class family to losing everything like that, which was physically out of my control because I was a kid, has taught me to trust in the divine. I'm great at money management. I could find money. I manifest clothes through thrift shops, organization. Oh, yeah. I have learned so much. I've read Rich Dad, Poor Dad in my 20s. I made money in investments in my 30s. I know how to flip a home. So if I didn't go through all that, that made me who I am today. I know how to go through a financial audit.
Okay, so having people say you must be rich made you say yes, I am.
Yeah, I say it. I've had people assume that, which I accept. There are some people when we moved to the mountains. Oh, you bought that 1,000 acres of land, and there are people that at the time was at another spiritual community, Mile High, and I'm like, no, and they argued with me. I'll never forget in the sanctuary. No, you don't want Greg and I. You don't want people to know you guys are rich. And I laughed. I said, hold it. I did not buy that 1,000 acres of land you're saying. I did not buy it, but I said, hold that. Because it's 3 acres. No, but then my old coach told me, you're carrying in the frequency of it. So now when people assume, oh, those 2 BMWs in the parking lot, aren't those your guys' cars? No, but thank you.
No, the answer is not yet.
Yeah, not yet. Hold it. So now I allow people to make up those stories. I'm not going to correct them and say, if you're pulling up for me, yes. I say yes and more.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask you some questions that I ask all my guests. And this is the first one. Is there anything that you want me, the world, the folks who are watching this, the folks who will watch it later on YouTube, to know about you, about the Divine Feminine Evolution, about Althea Center? Anything that you want us to know that I haven't asked you about?
Okay. That's what Spirit said. I just got something. Whatever we see, I am an intuitive. I am a clairvoyant. It's hard for me to say it because I've been hiding it for years. Things will get very interesting and challenging on this planet. Hold the line of spirit. This too shall pass. And it's okay to cry. Even if you feel the energies on the planet, ask yourself, why am I feeling angry? I have people saying, I'm feeling stuff. I'm like, we are really feeling the oneness. So with that, chant the word love, because everyone says peace, and I believe in peace, but love is a higher frequency than the word peace. We're in a new dimension. We're moving in it quick and fast, and everything, all the muck is coming up. All the muck is coming up, and we are evolving, and we all are to practice what not only we preach and what we pray, but to feel into it, even when you don't see it. That's what everyone should know. That's what Divine Feminine Evolution, that's what unity, religious science, Althea, it's all oneness. Hinduism is about oneness.
Yeah.
So even when, as we see the Middle East and we see Ukraine, even when we see the tribes in Africa and what's going on in Haiti and Central America, we can hold the oneness because it doesn't take a billion people to change the frequency. It's like less than 200,000 people. Hold the line of a golden thread. The shift of consciousness is here. We're going through the birth canal, and we're going to come out in love and light. That's what I want everyone to know.
Okay, good. All right, so next question. How does what you do as the spiritual director of Althea Center, as the force behind divinefeminine-evolution.org, as Reverend Christina Jones, how does what you do and how you be encourage, enhance, support, pick your own verb, conscious evolution?
How does it support, enhance conscious evolution? Well, it goes back to, I'm going to go back to biblical stuff, the 144,000, that some of the Jehovah Witness did believe that 144,000 will be saved in some rapture. This is old stuff, guys, so hold on. Well, I believe the 144,000, that's how much it takes to raise the vibration on the planet. So how about we all start saying, maybe one a part of the 144,000. So even what you do at home, what I do at home, our energy matters. Our heart vibrates. Think about this. You walk into a building, most people could feel when something feels yucky. I believe we're all energy shifters. That's it. Even if you wake up and pray, even I call it stop, drop, and roll and pray. Even if you see someone arguing at a grocery store, I went, and I heard it. I was like, oh, there's 100 miles screaming at the grocery store. I'm going, okay, just breathe. And a woman, I'll say stranger, but we're not strangers in oneness. She was so sweet. She grabbed my hand. She's like, can you hold my hand? Because we didn't like what we were feeling. We live in interesting times. And it stopped because security said, you two have to leave. People are feeling uncomfortable. Me and a total stranger, I may not ever see this woman again in this lifetime. Just took a deep breath, had our baskets next to each other. It's like, just breathe, just breathe. That's what I feel, divine feminine. Because it's not about the I, it's about the thee, it's about the we, it's not about me. So even if Althea has 60 people, 100 people, and say we got 20 people online watching or whatever, or they watch later, what I do, and Reverend Sharri, what you do does affect the collective. It's the oneness.
It's the oneness.
It's the oneness. We are all connected. Even if we don't like each other, you don't like your relative, your cousin, whatever, sorry, we're from one source. You can't separate. Even though the whole world's trying to separate, you can't separate. Even with this war that's going on, they're wrong, they're right, this is wrong, this needs to stop. I've been telling people, stop making everybody wrong and stay in your lane.
Well, that is the best segue to the next question I think I've ever had. Because the next question, which sounds very similar, but it's not exactly the same as the previous one, is how does what you do as the Divine Feminine in Althea Center, as Reverend Christina, how does what you do unveil, generate, enhance world peace?
It's not about the doing, it's about the being. That's all there is to it. My husband, one day, I had a bad day at work. He said, I felt you driving and you were mad. He said, go in the backyard and sit down. I was in corporate America, so it had to be over 10 years ago. And Reverend Dr. Lloyd Barrett, who's one of my mentors and practitioners, said to me a long time ago, you're an energy shifter. And then it hit me, we all are. Now, we don't know to what extent, because he said, I'm talking to you. So back to your question. First of all, how do I do it? It's about me being it. Every Sunday before I walk in Althea, I pray in the morning. I pray. I'll go touch a tree before going on stage. They made one day like a piece of glass fell down. This was going on. This isn't working. And a voice said, go outside right now. And I disappeared. Everyone was looking for me, and I went and touched a tree. Most of the people don't even know I do that there. They know now. I touch a tree. It's like, how do I be? What do you need me to say? Okay, I got the slides and all this. Well, it's not about me. I get, as Emerson, get your bloated nothingness out of the way. I get my bloated nothingness out of the way. A spirit said, stop beating yourself up about the website. Just do it. Just be it. Have a Zoom thing. Just build the momentum of it. The Divine Feminine Evolution is unfolding, even though the website's not complete. So that's me being and letting go of the judgment. So some days I have to tell the little me, and that's what I mean, the little e, the ego, go have a seat and go do this. So it's about me being. Some days I make plans and the voice said, no, go work in your office. And when I clear a space, I get a phone call about X, Y, and Z. So it's about me being, staying in my lane, and not going to judgment, and really be here now, as Ram Dass says. Be here now. I do have to catch myself because I worked in engineering. It's like starting the planning, and it's like, oh, we're not doing that today. One day I got dizzy and I got sick. I'm like, it's about being, and then a whole download of November jumped in, and then a whole download of October, and what Christmas looks like. Also, not only for Althea, but Divine Feminine and my speaking career. Got it. Spirit had to sit my butt down so I can be. So I think that's what, for me, it's being, but I know that message is just not about me being. It's about all of us being.
Well, and that's because you left out the sentence you said earlier, that we're all one.
Yeah.
And if we be that one in peace, that's what I'm hearing you say, which is wonderful. Okay, here's the last question, and it's the one people seem to get the most fun from. So you might want to close your eyes for this one. It says, we're going to presume that every single detail, every event, every relationship, every experience, every thought, every idea for the next 10 years goes exactly the way you want it to go. Exactly the way you want it to go. What does Christina look like 10 years from now?
Oh, Lord. We went from being in the present moment. What does Christina look like? Having a community. I already know it because I've seen it. And I'm talking a physical community because I think the world's going to look different in a good way. And what I mean by that, a community of thousands of acres of land and working with other people in New Thought, other whatever they were, because I think the word religion is going to go away. I think we're going to go back to home base, so to speak. If we go back to Hinduism, Egyptology, and whatever else is unfolding. So what it looks like for me is being in community with people like us and fulfilling that vision, the vision that I got when I moved to Colorado 24 years ago, of showing me rolling hills and yurts and organizations all working together in community. That's me 10 years from now.
Oh, I'll take an order of that. Thank you very much.
It's about true community, not just saying.
No, I understand. Community is the thing that matters most to me, too. I understand. I hear you talk.
Your one retreat center. When I saw your retreat center, that's what it's supposed to be. I really feel I spent time in Damanhur, Italy. The time I'm taking a group to Peru, and they get it. And when I grew up in the South, I picked that landing spot on purpose, where people, if a mom got sick, the whole neighborhood came and took the kids and took care of that. We got away from that. I love the Southern side of me of saying good morning and good evening. We've gotten to divide it. We've gotten to, so we can have technology and still have community.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much. There's one more question. Will you come back?
Yes.
Okay, hold on. Because when somebody says yes, the first thing I do is pull up my calendar and book them.
Okay.
Because I don't want to miss out on having somebody show up. So here we go. Hold on. The very next opening that we have is on, are you ready? The 17th of September next year. Can I plug you in?
Holy cow, that's you way out. You go there.
Well, I don't let people get away. You know, if they say yes, I snag them right away and put them back in.
Snag them right away. Yes, I can.
Oh, thank you. I'm putting you in right now. You are officially booked. All righty. And next week, folks, you do not want to miss this show. We're going to have a guest who is going to be visiting us from Canada. Reverend Steph St. Amand is a character and a half. She has all kinds of cool stuff. And she has a different take because she's from north of the border. She sees things from a different perspective, and she gives us a new way to look at the things we're seeing from our perspective. So do join us. I promise you'll find something interesting and marvelous and grand. And in the meantime, have a great week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hepperlin Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Spiritual Center, Kitchener, Om Center for Spiritual Living, La Mesa, Satya Center, Center for Spiritual Living, North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and Center for Spiritual Living, Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for making New Thought Media Network a place to be. Please come be you. And remember, like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring. Amazing. Amazing. You will do amazing things. Amazing.
America.